I'm standing here in front of the Newseum in Washington, D.C. The First Amendment is carved on the wall of the building. According to the First Amendment, Americans are entitled to free speech and the free exercise of their religious beliefs. Yet today, more and more Christians are being forced to check their faith and their right to free speech at the door upon entering their place of employment. Because of so-called employment non-discrimination laws in many states, just doing your job can be deemed offensive to some homosexuals and viewed as discrimination. This perceived discrimination now carries more weight to many employers than First Amendment rights of free speech or religious expression. Sadly, this reality is now costing some well-trained professionals their jobs.
I think I'm a good listener. Before I actually got into counseling, I'd have people stop by my desk or office all the time just to talk and ask me, oh, what do you think about this? Or I'm having these sorts of problems. So I guess it was a natural fit. I'd go to work and just not happy, and I felt God pulling on my heart to do something differently. And for the longest, I kept ignoring it, trying to say, no, He's not telling me to do that. He's not telling me to go into counseling. And then I finally surrendered, and I went into counseling. I actually had to go back to school to get my master's degree to go into counseling. It's something about having someone come into your office that's hurting, and you can see that they're hurting. And if you're just there to, like I said, to listen to them, that means the world to them. So for me, it's really rewarding when I can have someone walk out of my office that originally came in tears, walk out with a smile on their face, or give me a hug, or say thank you so much. That means the world to me. My faith plays a role in every aspect of my life. There's not a thing in my life that my faith is not included in that. It's not one of those, my faith is not something I take off and leave at home when I walk out the door. It's wherever I go. So my faith is what led me into counseling. And whenever I sit down with someone to have a conversation, that's in the forefront of my mind. It's always about, okay, how do I share God with them? Even if I don't talk about God's, per se, those words may not come out of my mouth, but I'm always thinking about, I hate to say it, but what would Jesus do? I always keep that in the back of my mind. I never thought my faith would present any issues at work. If anything, I thought it would help me because I'm trying to be compassionate. I want to be, gentle and caring and kind. And to me, it's like my heartbeat. I don't leave home without it. It's the core of who I am. It's part of my being. So I never imagined in 1,000 years that my faith would get me in trouble at work.
Marsha Walden is a counselor for the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control. She was approached by a woman who wanted help to repair her same-sex relationship. Now, Marsha Walden was no stranger to helping those who define themselves as homosexual. She had counseled many in the past. But this one was unique. Marsha was being asked to help repair a same-sex relationship, a relationship that ran contrary to her deeply held beliefs about marriage. She just couldn't bring herself to help this woman.
And I really wanted to help her, but I was not the best counselor for her. And it was in her best interest that I find another counselor to work with her. And I asked her if that was okay, and she said yes. So immediately, I got up and I went to several of my colleagues' offices to see if they were in, and one of them happened to be in. I filled him in and let him know I have this client. There's a conflict between my religious beliefs and what she's coming into counseling for. Could you see her? He said, absolutely. So I introduced them. He took her back to his office, and that was all a matter of 10 minutes from the time she walked in my door until he took her over and did the counseling.
So what she did was she referred this woman to a fellow counselor. The woman was referred and getting counseling within 10 minutes. Matter of fact, later on, the woman in the same-sex relationship characterized this counseling she received as exemplary. That was her word. But unfortunately, that wasn't good enough for her. She was upset that Marcia refused to counsel her and filed a complaint with her employer that ultimately led to Marcia being dismissed.
I was put on suspension pending the investigation, and probably 2 weeks later I was then terminated. No one ever imagines that they're going to lose their job because of their religious beliefs. Of course, I was shocked. I didn't go around throwing a temper tantrum. I didn't yell at anyone. I wasn't angry, believe it or not. I just praised and glorified God. I mean, I felt so honored that He had used me for such for this particular thing. You know, me, just somebody that, I mean, it could have been anybody, but God chose me. And I just felt honored that he selected me. In anything, we can be uncompassionate and lack grace. But I think God would want us to still show love to that individual because we're all sinners and we all fall short of the glory of God. So, in whatever we do, we still need to exhibit love and kindness. But I would say never compromise your values, your beliefs, and your principles. And God expects us to be bold. And we can't fear persecution. The Bible's very clear about, as Christians, I mean, Jesus was persecuted. So, of course, we're going to be persecuted for following Him.
Well, Marcia Walden, as a licensed counselor, is required by her professional code of ethics to refer any potential client with whom she has a conflict of interest. In her case, it was called a values conflict, and it's generally understood that when counselors have a conflict with a potential client, they're supposed to refer them out. Every counselor throughout the course of their career will have a conflict. If counselors are not required to make these referrals when conflicts of interest exist, it will compromise the entire counseling profession.
Marcia is a young woman simply pursuing her dream of helping others. Now, she's out of work for doing exactly what she was trained to do. With INDA, companies and religious organizations will be forced to be even tougher on free speech and religious expression in the workplace. Put an end to INDA. Go to frcaction.org.